like a douche.
Alrighty, so here is my QAVR-V2 slammed and dunked. I got this bad boy down on 10mm standoffs. Why would I put it down on 10mm standoffs? Well, why not? This is called a hobby. I like to customize shit and do things myself and have something unique. The very first reason that I did it is because, fuck, look how cool that is, right? That's reason number one. Reason number two is weight savings. Without having those big long screws and stuff in there, and the way I laid out the stack in here, the stuff in here, which we're gonna see in a minute when we pop off the hood. I'll show you what's under there. Because this is actually a 6-inch that I'm flying with 5-inch setup. So this is a 265mm frame, I believe, 260, 265, and it's all up weight with GoPro and everything. It's weighing in at 624 grams. That is freaking fantastic. This is like an old school concept where we used to actually, all the frames used to be like 250 and above because the electronics back in the day were so freaking big you couldn't fit them in anything else. The frame had to be that big to fit all your electronics. But in more modern days, some guy, I know Fraybot still flies 6-inch with 5-inch setup. The thing is, it makes it more stable, makes your video more creamy and flowy, having the having more width and stability here. So we'll see if that plays out. Firmware and gyros and everything are so good nowadays, I don't think it makes a huge difference, but we'll see when we go out and fly it here in a minute after we go through this whole deal. So yeah, the cool factor, the weight factor, and the fact that with it slammed like that, it's going to be, number one, it's going to be impossible. Durability. It's going to be impossible to bend a standoff because there's 8 standoffs on this Lumineer. It's going to be really hard to break anything, really hard for anything to get at the electronics or anything to happen to this thing whatsoever. And the weight factor, it's going to be really hard to break an arm. I believe the 6-inch arms are 5mm for the QAVR, so this thing is going to be super freaking durable. Yeah, so there we have it. Will it fly a bunch different with it being slammed like that? Not too much, but having the center of gravity as low as possible to the thrust line of the props is always a good thing for when we're doing freestyle and we want nice looking flips and rolls and everything like that, instead of it having to be wonky and kind of penduluming a weight. The more closer it is to the thrust of the prop line, the less pendulum effect we're going to get, and it's going to be a lot smoother looking video. So there's that. Let's look at the bottom with the brace plate. So let's pop the hood off and have a look under the hood, shall we? Alrighty, so here she is with the hood off, and as you can see, one of the reasons I chose to build it this way is because this awesome QAVR frame has a place for 3 20x20 boards. The holes all mounted up there. So we got your Brain Radix Lee up front here, which means I can lay all the electronics straight out. Nothing is attached to the lid itself, so I can just pop the lid off, never have to undo a stack or anything like that, and everything is right here to be serviceable. I got the Brain Radix Lee with the Acon 4-in-1 ESC and the tank VTX, because the new tank ultimate micro, whatever it's called here, small tank, the little tank guy, is a 20 by 20 also. And also this is a fantastic VTX. It works really well. I've had zero issues with it. This or the TBS is all I use, but this is really solid. Smart audio. You can hook up a microphone on here too if you want. Just solder it right on. It's got audio output right there, which I have done before. It's super easy. And as you can see, it makes for a really super neat build. No, these little plastic screws are not going to break, contrary to popular belief. So instead of using steel screws, I was able to use all these nice little plastic screws with the rubber mounts, and everything is all nice and soft mounted across the frame there. The plastic screws do not break. The plastic standoffs, however, do break. The nubs break off the top of those plastic standoffs. The screw part always breaks off the top of those plastic standoffs, and that's where people have an issue. But I've been using plastic screw. What I use, I'll show you real quick. What I always use is plastic screws, even when I'm doing a stack, even though this one's unstacked. I use plastic screws, long ones like so, and then I take, there's a little piece, let me show you. I use this rubber silicone, I guess it's gas line for a nitro car type thing, or a nitro plane, and I cut it into these little guys like this, and I slide it on there so I can make my stack custom, however, whatever size I want. And look guys, that screw is not going to break. It just gives and wiggles in there, and then your whole stack is soft mounted, and you don't have to worry about cutting these little things exactly to size, because when you put your stack together, you can just tighten the nuts down a little bit and squish these guys so that everything's even and flat, you know what I mean? So even if you have one that's cut at a little bit of an angle or a little longer than the next one, when you put your nut on there, you can just smush everything down even and flat. Piece of cake. Super easy. I've never had this break or come apart in all the stacks I've been making out of these for several years, contrary to some others' popular belief. So there we go. That's what's under the hood. I used this was all possible because now this new Runcam Racer Nano is a fantastic little cam, and it fit in there perfectly. So anyway, as you can see, a nice neat build. The second question a lot of people are going to ask me is, how does it fly with the flight controller in the front? Well, it flies exactly the same, because guys, let me tell you, and gals, your flight controller does not know if it's in the middle or not. It doesn't matter if you put it here, here, or in the back. Your flight control, the gyro works on an angle. So the angle, right, if you're flying forward and your quad's like this, the angle is exactly the same whether that flight controller is here, here, or here. It's still going to give the rear motors the amount of thrust it needs to hold that angle, no matter where it's at. It actually doesn't know if it's in the middle. The angle on that flat plane is going to be the same, whether you're pitching, rolling, pitching, whatever. It's still going to just feel like it doesn't know that it's not in the middle. It's working on angles. Even on your yaw axis, it's not going to matter. Not in our application. Contrary to what one of the popular new flight, well, I guess it's not new, it's a couple years old, flight controller guys would have you believe that theirs is so much better because the gyro is in the center. The gyro doesn't know it's in the center. The gyro works on angles. Just like in your phone, when you flip your phone and the screen flips, the accelerometer in your phone, it's the same thing. So it flies the same. And then you can lay everything out nice and neat. Excuse me. So that's what's under the hood. Did I miss anything? Did I forget anything? I don't think so. Crossfire, of course, is on there. So let's put this little guy back together. Actually, that's the top because there's my Velcro. Put this little guy back together and take it for a rip, tater chip. Alright, so there we have it. The maiden voyage of the Dunk. I'm liking that low life. You know, nothing like, wow, that's amazing. But I got to tell you, overall, it did exactly as I suspected. In that having the center of gravity tighter like that, it felt a lot tighter. Unlike my rolls and stuff like that. And I really like, obviously I like the way it looks, it's freaking cool, but it feels really super solid. It's light. I don't know if I mentioned I'm running the Brother Hobby 2207 2400s on there, because this is a 265 millimeter frame that I'm running a 5-inch setup on. And what that did is I can really feel a nice floatiness when I'm upside down and going backwards and cruising and yawing, and with that it's nice and swoopy feeling, you know what I mean? It feels really smooth, like spots where I normally would have to feather the sticks, I can hammer the sticks a little more and still keep it smooth without prop wash, because the props are so far apart and it's not. Anyway, there it is. That's the Slammer 10 millimeter standoffs on a QAVR slammed V2. And like I said, it just feels super solid. I really like the way the components are laid out, because nothing's attached to the top plate. I can just pop the top plate off and get to absolutely everything without having to remove any standoffs, any screws, anything inside. So I think now that I got this all figured out on how to do it, this is probably going to be, I mean, the setup that's in here has been my setup for a while anyway, with the brain Radix and the 4-in-1 and blah, 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 blah. Kind of, sort of. But anyway, irregardless, now that I've found the components that fit, that work, that are perfect, this is probably going to be like my more go-to type build. So yeah, there's that. Flies pretty damn good, I must say. Time to go. I think this is going to be awesome for like some building dives and stuff like that, where I can really get a nice... Anywho, y'all can do whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't give a fuck.